Hello, welcome to the June 2016 Kula Yoga Shala Teacher Feature. This month we are joined by Kirtin, who is teaching Kundalini Yoga on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. in Studio A. And beginning in June this month, she's also teaching a new morning. Hold on, plane flying overhead. Pause.
All it's meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, guys. Starting this month, June, a Friday morning Kundalini practice on the deck at 8 a.m., which is going to be awesome. It'll be our first Monday or first morning Kundalini class that we've had here in 6 years or 5 years or something. So thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to do this.
It's a pleasure to be here and really an honor to be part of this community.
Thank you so much. I feel like the big question in a lot of people's minds is, what is Kundalini Yoga and can I do it? And it's one of the practices that, as far as at least my understanding goes, of almost every physical yoga practice falls under the the realm of Hatha Yoga, but Kundalini Yoga, while having its physicality, is its own practice, and based more in the kriyas and the asanas, and so I want to dive into all that with you, but I'd also love just to give people a sense of who you are and your approach to practicing and teaching yoga. And so let's start there with just a little background and whatever your passion is, what lights you up about it.
Great. Well, I found Kundalini Yoga at a time when I was really at my bottom, and I'd gone through an emotional and mental and physical breakdown. Like, my adrenals crashed and ended up in the hospital, and it was in that recovery that I found Kundalini Yoga. I'd never even heard of it prior to that. I've been doing yoga since college for years, and at that point it was something that called to me, so I went to check it out and immediately fell in love with the practice. It's an inward experience, just the fact that your eyes are closed throughout the practice. You're connecting so deeply with the breath, and it's such an inward experience that I was able to, first of all, get off all the medications, and
Awesome.
I was able to sleep at night again. And then my journey back to health came, and then from there I felt better than I'd ever felt before, and realized that the practice is even more than that. Like, okay, if I can get to this point where I feel better than I've ever felt before in my life, where else can this take me? So then through the journey, it just shedding more and more layers and peeling more and more of that onion, I became more and more acquainted with myself. And really, that's my mission as a teacher, is to help people become more acquainted with themselves and to shed those layers so that they can tap into their inner light and into their inner wisdom and have that magic come through, that magic of who they are.
Beautiful.
That's all about
What a
me.
great story. It's amazing. I love how you were able to transform your hardship into an act of service. Just from that first bit of being sick to where you are now as a teacher. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
I really feel like that was the path for me. That was
Right?
necessary to get me here, so I'm grateful for that. Like,
Yeah, most definitely. Can you tell people a little bit about just kind of the nuts and bolts of what Kundalini Yoga is, if they're unfamiliar, and what the practice is like?
First of all, it's for everyone. You don't have to have any experience to come to class. And basically every class starts with a pranayam, an exercise to just get into your breath and to just start to awaken that pranic life force, get it moving within you. And then we do some warm-ups to warm up the body, get the energy moving in the body, and then we go into our kriya. And kriya essentially is a set of actions that yield a specific result. So it's almost like a recipe. You have a recipe for chocolate cake, you're going to get chocolate cake. A recipe for tomato soup, you're going to get tomato soup. So sometimes we're working on the liver, sometimes we're working on the adrenals and the kidneys, sometimes we're working on emotional balance, or awakening our 10 bodies, or something more etheric, or maybe setting a foundation for infinity. So every kriya has a specific end results that we're working towards. And so we follow the kriyas as taught by Yogi Bhajan, and we go through that, and then we typically do a meditation at the end and a savasana. And I also play crystal singing bowls during savasana. So it's a nice little sound bath
Beautiful.
to just relax and release.
The intensity level, how would you describe that for people?
Every class is different. Sometimes, actually, with Kundalini, it's interesting because you're working the mind. With everything we're doing, we're working the mind. So we may be doing 3 minutes of squats, but really, it's the mind that is what's holding us back from being able to see what our true potential is. So sometimes our mind is really strong and we're able to go through it with ease, and then other times it might be an easier kriya physically, but the monkey mind's in our way, and it's taking us down all these little rabbit holes, and then it may be more challenging. So it's really different every time, and I really encourage everyone to go at their own pace, and if you ever need to relax or just take savasana or baby pose, that's totally fine. They're almost like moving meditation. So you actually, when you go through it, it may seem like, okay, we're gonna do 3 minutes of squats, what? But then you start to get into your rhythm and get into your breath, and it becomes like a meditation that uplifts you, and you're able to cut through the mental chatter, and then all of a sudden you're able to do 3 minutes of squats, and you're like, wow, I never realized that I could possibly ever do that.
Yeah, it's like a glass ceiling.
Right, so you really bust through those blocks.
So as I hear you talk about that, I'm thinking just about you and this time of these glass ceilings in life, and how you've just made so many huge significant changes. You've just started, you left your job and your job and now you're doing this with your whole being, and you just got married.
Yes.
And so your life seems like you really are busting through, but really in a way that is a conscious realignment with your values. And I would just wondered if you could talk about how you're connecting what you're experiencing on the mat to the practice of living yoga, given all these movements that are happening in your life.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole premise of Kundalini is, that snake coiled at the base of the spine, and then as it starts to awaken, it starts to rise. But I like to think of it as, the metaphor of the snake. When it grows, it sheds its skin, and it has to keep shedding in order to keep growing. So over the period of this journey that I've been on for the past several years, it's been all about that, just little bits of growth and shedding, and growth and shedding, or actually shedding then growth, shedding then growth. And so it's just embracing that and seeing that the challenges are really just another opportunity for growth, and thinking, what can I learn here? What is this next expansion going to be, and what can I bring forward? And so it's just been lots of little right actions moving towards that Satnam, that's truth. In Kundalini Yoga we use the mantra a lot, Satnam, Sat meaning truth, Nam meaning name or identity. So it's all in that, working towards more and more alignment of thought, action, words, deeds, working towards that truth, your true identity of who you are.
Yeah, I love that so much. It reminds me of something I had read recently that said you can always say thank you when things are going really well. You say thank you and smile, and when things are challenging, you say thank you and grow. Yeah, I love that. We only have a minute left, so I was just wondering if you could leave people with, given what you've experienced on your mat over the years and all this transformation, if somebody is newer to the practice, how could they use yoga to support their larger life path and healing path? And what about when it gets difficult to practice? And just any words of encouragement or advice?
Yeah, and with Kundalini it's all about sadhana, the daily practice. And really that's not necessarily even hitting the mat, but just knowing that, if you hit the mat, that's the ideal, obviously. But even in a work situation, if you're at that computer and you feel those shoulders up at your ears and you're just like, feeling that tension, knowing that you can just come back to the breath and just taking that long, deep breath, and just releasing it, letting it go, all of a sudden you've shifted. And the more you become aware of those moments that you're like this, the more of an opportunity you have to just come back. And so the practice isn't always necessarily in the yoga studio or on the mat, but you can do it anywhere, in the car, in traffic. You can just do some tali breathing, a
Right.
breath of fire. I mean, you could do any breathing really at any point, any time.
It's
So
beautiful.
just knowing you have access to that at any moment.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, namaste.
Satnam.